Good morning. Sunday morning.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Good Morning Sunday Morning. It's me, your host, Danny from Body Politic Media. Today is November 22nd, 2020, Thanksgiving week. I wanted to devote today's episode mostly to the United States Senate and what that could look like next year. As far as the presidential election goes, I know that right now Trump is devoting all of his time to either golf or trying to overturn the election with various lawsuits throughout the states, but they seem to be mostly unsuccessful at this point. So if I had to guess, I know this is on a lot of people's minds. I think that Trump will be unsuccessful. He'll eventually have to admit that he lost, and I think that Joe Biden will be sworn in as president next January. So as far as I'm concerned, the presidential election is settled. But what is not settled is the election for the United States Senate. So most of you know we have two special elections in the Senate in Georgia, and they're scheduled for January 5th. So usually special elections in the Senate garner a certain amount of attention. I think that they should always have a lot of attention because the Senate is important. But these two elections are particularly important because it will potentially decide the balance and power of the Senate. So right now, technically, the Republicans hold a 52-48 majority in the Senate. But if the Democrats can pull off two victories on January 5th, then we will have a 50-50 tie, which I did a video a few weeks ago before the election. And this is, I pretty much predicted a 50-50 tie, but just saying. So then I started thinking, when have we had like a 50-50 tie in the past? And like, what does it actually mean? Like, what are the ramifications? Like, who is going to be Senate Majority Leader? And whoever Senate Majority Leader is usually sets the agenda in the Senate every day. They decide what bills come up for a vote, what bills even get discussed or even debated, and that sort of thing. So I didn't actually know the answer. So I had to do some research to figure it out. And the short answer is it's pretty complicated. We can start with, if the Senate is tied, it kind of comes down to first whoever the vice president is. So in this instance, it'll probably be Kamala Harris. And one of the only jobs of a vice president is to be president of the Senate. And if they need to, they can cast tie-breaking votes. So this is really important, not just because, if a bill is voted on and it's a tie 50-50 in the vote, then Kamala will be able to come in and break that. She actually kind of decides, what bills come up to even be discussed. And, it kind of decides on like how the agenda is set. So, unlike in the House, for instance, like the entire House, all 435 members actually vote on who the speaker is. So in this instance, it's probably going to be Nancy Pelosi, but it doesn't really work that way in the Senate. Like a full Senate doesn't vote on who the majority leader is. It's actually just done by parties. So in this instance, the Republicans are going to go off into their conference and they're going to vote on whoever they want their leader to be. So that's going to be Mitch McConnell. And then the Democrats will go off into their conference and they're going to pick who their leader is going to be, which is probably going to be Chuck Schumer. And then they show up, Mitch McConnell shows up and he's like, I'm Mitch McConnell, I'm the leader of the Republicans, and here's 49 friends behind me. And then Chuck Schumer is going to show up and do the same thing. I'm the leader of the Democrats, and here's 49 of my pals behind me. So that's where we get that 50-50 tie. So as far as, so when I say that the vice president is the president of the Senate, like in the olden days, I think it was supposed to be envisioned that like the vice president would literally go sit in the Senate chamber every day and like preside over proceedings or whatever. But that isn't really the practice anymore. Like Mike Pence doesn't sit in the Senate every day as vice president these days. They usually just like choose like a rotating random member of the majority party. So like today, Lindsey Graham is president of the Senate. And then like tomorrow it's Tom Cotton. And then, the next day it'll be some other Republican, So in this instance, I think if there is a 50-50 tie next year, we're going to see Kamala Harris like in the Senate a lot. Like she's probably going to be like presiding over the Senate like on a daily basis, I think, because so here's like a scenario is that so there's really going to be technically no majority leader. Like the Constitution doesn't really tell us what to do in this instance. It literally comes down to like who gets to speak first, and whoever speaks first sets the agenda for the day. So let me see if I can set it up. So Kamala Harris is going to be sitting there as president of the Senate, and then Chuck Schumer is going to come up as majority or as leader of the Democrats, and he's going to be like, I want to talk about a COVID-19 relief bill today, and then maybe we can vote on it. And then Mitch McConnell will show up and be like, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about more tax cuts for corporations or whatever Republicans, like to do. So in this instance, Kamala Harris, and this is what's happened in the past, more or less, is that she will pick the person in her party, and that person gets to talk first. And whoever literally gets to talk first, that person kind of becomes like de facto majority leader for the day or whatever. So I'm envisioning scenarios where, the first thing they're going to want to pass in the Senate is like a COVID-19 relief bill, and Mitch McConnell probably doesn't want to do that. But so Kamala Harris will be able to decide who talks first. I mean, that's literally how it works. It's kind of crazy. But so, in the last couple of years, Republicans have had control of the Senate, and only because, the president of the Senate, whoever that is in the day, let Mitch McConnell talk first. And that sets the agenda, not just for that day, but for the entire session and for the entire year or whatever. So it's kind of complicated. And, but that's pretty much how it works, more or less. So the last time this has happened in history before. There was a 50-50 tie back in the 1800s, and then there was another time in 1953. But most recently, there was a 50-50 split in the year 2000. And at that point, like, the two parties, like, more or less figured it out. They, like, kind of figured out how to have, like, an equal balance of power and, like, decide, like, who gets to talk and what sort of bills get to be discussed. So they more or less figured it out back then. But I'm thinking now in the year 2020, the level of partisanship is a lot worse than it was in the year 2000, and probably worse than it's ever been since, like, the Civil War or whatever. So it's going to be interesting to see how McConnell and Schumer work together. It could be completely chaotic, and I'm not really confident that they're going to be able to figure it out. I mean, we saw what the Republicans just did with the last Supreme Court justice. They don't really follow rules anymore, or decorum, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm not really sure how that's going to work out. But I guess to answer the question of who sets the agenda, technically, if the Democrats win both seats on January 5th and they get seated and Kamala Harris becomes vice president, for the most part, Democrats are still gonna kind of run the show, I suppose. So I guess that's good news. So I got most of by the way, I did most of my research and I got this from a website called bipartisanpolicy.org. So I'll put the link down so you can go ahead and read it for yourself. So as far as what's going to happen in the next year, I'm hoping that they figure out a way to pass some sort of relief bill because COVID-19, as you know, is worse now than it's ever been. It's raging all over the country. We got food bank lines for miles all over the country. People are really hurting. People can't pay rent. Millions of people are unemployed. It's like, I've been saying this for a long time. I think we're plunging into like a 21st century Great Depression. So I'm hoping that if the Democrats can win these seats, maybe we can get some sort of bill passed by January, right when Joe Biden gets sworn in and they figure out the Senate, and we can get some sort of relief for the people, because it's going to get really ugly. I mean, the virus itself is terrible. Obviously, we're setting records every day, but economically speaking, it's getting really bad. So I hope they figure something out. It's going to be a rough couple years, guys. So I suppose that's it. I hope this helps you a little bit. If anybody had any questions on how the Senate's going to work. So I was, I'm kind of a dork when it comes to the Senate. So it was fun for me to look into this, but I guess that's it. So I also wanted to announce, I guess, that we have me and my buddy Patrick from Daily Ember. We're going to start doing weekly live streams, I think every Wednesday night, probably starting this Wednesday. And it'll kind of be like a weekly show that we can do. And then I'll be able to clip out little clips from the show. So look out for that. Starting this Wednesday, that should be fun. And I'm going to keep doing the videos as per usual and, keep doing the work. So that's it. Hope everybody's staying safe as possible out there. I love everyone, as always. And that's it. Goodbye from Montana.